Nobel economists warn America is breaking the rules of growth. Three of the world's leading economists just won the Nobel Prize for proving how technology and openness drive prosperity, and their message is a warning to America. Joel Mocker, Philippe Aghion, and Peter Howitt were honored for showing that innovation, not protectionism, sustains long-term growth. Their work explains how societies thrive only when they embrace change, welcome new ideas, and allow creative destruction. The constant process of replacing old industries with better ones. But today, the United States is doing the opposite. Tariffs, trade wars, and immigration crackdowns are choking the very forces that built the modern economy. Science and higher education are under attack. Collaboration between government, universities, and business, once the engine of American innovation, is eroding. As Nobel Prize winner Philippe Aghion told the New York Times, openness is a driver of growth. I'm not welcoming the protectionist wave in the United States. So, what's the real message of the Nobel Prize for Economics going to these three guys? It's, hey folks, wake up. America is sowing the seeds of its own destruction. You want economic growth? You have to bring in new people. Immigration is good. New minds, good. Lots of spending on university research and academic research. That's what fuels economic growth, and we are chopping it off at the very base. Let's go a little bit deeper here. So it's fascinating to me every time I see it, but if you ever look at the history of economic growth for the last 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years, it looks like a flat road, and then 200 years ago, it's almost straight up. Now, here we are living in our own time, and day to day, month to month, even year to year, things go up 4%. It's hardly discernible. But when you look at the context, history, it's astronomical growth. We're so much better. I mean, let's not forget, for most of human history, most people lived in basically extreme poverty. Famine killed you. Most people had certain periods of their life where starvation was the norm. This is most of human history. That all changed with the Industrial Revolution, technology, things like the steam engine, railroads, modern farming technique. It all changed. And it's very easy to take for granted, as we in the United States are doing these days. So these three, as I talked about, just were awarded the Nobel Prize for Economics for their research on how society's use of technology is ultimately what creates growth. I mean, you don't even have to look at the United States. Look at a country like Japan that has very little in terms of natural resources, but their use of technology for industrializing is what made them one of the foremost economies in the world. It is the use of innovation, the use of technology. Now, you can point to Japan and say, well, TJ, they're not that big on letting everyone immigrate there. Well, their economy has not grown nearly as well as ours has in the last 30 years either. Now, these economists are very, very anti-tariff, anti-trade wars, and what they're really against is protecting out-of-date industries. So what do we have in the United States right now? We have new industries that are gaining in productivity all the time, like green energy, constantly being attacked by dear leader. And we have old, outdated, unprofitable industries like the coal industry, propped up, supported, given subsidy. It's the exact opposite of what these Nobel Prize winning economists are recommending you want for a growth economy. We're continuing to see old industries like the family farm. Forgive me for those of you who are family farmers, but that's an industry that was around not just 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, but 1,000 years ago. And it simply is not a great economic model anymore. Sorry, I realize that hurts some people's feelings, but it's true. That's not what drives growth for an economy. It's not what drives wealth for an economy. And as one of these Nobel winner said, openness is a driver for growth. So much of what made the United States grow throughout its history, but certainly since World War II, is we attract the top minds of the world, the Einsteins of the world. We also attract people who simply are wildly ambitious and wildly ambitious for their children. So when Steve Jobs immigrated to this country, he didn't create Apple, but his son did. So when you cut off immigration, you are potentially cutting off the next apple for this country. You look at the massive growth we have from major corporations in America like Microsoft, like Google. Well, what do they have in common? They have CEOs from India. And if you make it much, much harder for people from India, top tech talent, to move here, then maybe the next Google, maybe the next Microsoft is run by or founded by or maintained by a company in India or in Canada, more likely, or in China, or in any other country than the United States. So it is frankly bizarre that the things that made us grow, strong scientific research at major universities, is exactly what we're cutting out now. Attracting the greatest brains in the world to come here, to come to our schools, to start new businesses. That's what's made us grow at a much faster rate than Europe and the rest of the world. So what are we doing? We're saying, hey, this really works. We're really successful. We're richer than any other big economy in the world. I know. Let's stop doing all the things that got us here. That, unfortunately, is the mantra, the philosophy of what's going on in the United States today. And it's frankly bizarre. It's just odd that we are destroying ourselves. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I agree with those who say, okay, there is no evidence that our dear leader is an actual paid for pawn, a secret vessel by Russia. I'm not saying that. I think Russians have to be very happy that Donald Trump is our president, but I'm not saying he was groomed and he's a paid for shill by Russia to put in power to destroy the American economy and the American way of life. But I will say this. If I were the Russian government, if I were Putin, and I wanted to destroy America, and I wanted to destroy our economic superiority, and I had a brain trust of the 1,000 most brilliant people in all of Russia, I do not think I could come up with a better strategy for destroying America than to create a so-called leader who takes the exact actions of what we are seeing being done in the White House today.